Hey guys, welcome back to another instructional chess video. In this one I'm going to be trying to solve some really difficult puzzles for me. So let's just dive right in and see how it goes. Alright, we got black's move. Noticing there's a potential for a back rank. Be looking for this type of thing. I'm going to be looking for what this puzzle could be about. Definitely some tension on the rooks here. So there's definitely some consideration on the C and D files. This position likely arose from a Slav. I could see perhaps this rook could be overworked, trying to guard too many pieces at one time. This piece is also not that well guarded. Okay, so now I have a decent idea of what's going on here. So now I'm looking for different candidate moves. So these two are definitely on the top of my list. Perhaps even a6 seems a bit unlikely. And maybe some sort of knight move. So those would be near the top of my list. Probably most convincing is rook takes rook. This is the best place to start. So clearly if rook takes rook, then it seems like they're just dropping a piece here and they can't really take advantage of the back rank. So black will be okay. So therefore rook d1, knight d1 appears to be forced. And then it seems a bit hard to take advantage. So even though there will be some poorly placed pieces on the white side, it seems like I can't really do anything there. Okay, so I'm going to put that on hold for a minute. I'm going to look at this one. So bishop c3 could be met with rook takes rook. Rook takes rook. And they'll need to recapture in some way. So if we've got, what, rook takes back on c3, and that opens the door for a black rook to jump into d1. Rook d1, that must be met with bishop f1, and then bishop a6. This is starting to look very bad for white. Okay, so this does seem rather promising. I just need to check my other variation, because even though this may seem a little bit tedious, it's really important that we get this correct. I'm going to treat this as though this were a tournament game. So, capture. If instead of trading rooks, if they just recapture, then it's just going to hang a rook. So maybe I'm 70% confident this is the right answer. We said rook takes rook, so I'm just going to take a quick peek and see if there's any other moves that I could have missed here. Looks okay. Oh wow, no. Okay, let's give it another shot. Just knight takes and then guard the bishop. Okay, didn't get off on a great start. Let's see if we can improve. White's move, this puzzle, there's definitely a lot of pieces that are hanging on the black side. This king's also somewhat open, so therefore there's a lot of ideas down these diagonals. Okay, so definitely two moves that pop out, as well as queen c3, all interesting. I noticed just now that I am in check, so yeah, we definitely need to get out of check in some way, shape, or form. So clearly the most obvious is rook f3, queen f3, want to get their queen out of danger as well. And then, say for example queen d4. Can't move your f-pawn because it's pinned. It looks actually pretty difficult to stop. Perhaps black can give some checks. It's a bit annoying. Capture, recapture. Yeah, so this check, if there's a way that I can stop these checks, as well as eventually threaten. So maybe like rook e3, then black, if their queen is on f3, they can't give any checks. They can't go g4, g2, g3, g2. Can't come to any of these squares, can't come to any of these squares, and they can't give any checks. And then I want to follow up with queen c3 or queen d4. See if black can block off any of these squares. I don't think they can, so I think this looks pretty good. Yeah, looks pretty good. Okay, so we're 1-1. White's move. Which way are my pawns going? Okay, white's move, going up this way. So clearly I want to promote at some point. Black is threatening to promote. I can't just directly take away my opponent's threats, because that would just lose. So yeah, appears that one of these two moves is going to be the answer. We have to figure out which one. So f6, king f8, for example. Problem is g7, then they're going to be able to capture, and that's going to be really bad. So just immediately queen, they can capture. Then perhaps king f6, followed by g7. It seems like this might take a long time, but after like getting our king to g6, and then 2 more pawn moves would be a checkmate. So I just need to calculate this. My opponent's going to need 1, 2, and possibly even a 3rd and a 4th move to really get where they need to be. So perhaps this could work. Check, king captures, king f6, g2, g7 check, king g8, king g6. So now we've stalemated the black king. They're going to promote. And then f6, we're threatening checkmate. Can they do a darn thing about it? Yeah, unfortunately they can. They can just bring their queen and have a look at the f files. So it seems like that one doesn't quite work. We're 1 tempo short. Bummer. Okay. And yeah, this just doesn't work. Clearly. Okay. Giving a check, going back, and the f6 move. Yeah, this one also seems like it's just not there. King f8, king f8, f6, g2, king h6, g1. Yeah, it's just definitely not working. So I'm like 80% confident that we need to push this pawn. And then, yeah, now I'm having some other idea here. Like getting our king up to h7 first and then pushing could be an interesting idea. Yeah, because this is just not going to work. g7, king f7, and then you're just stuck. King h6, g2. Check first. King captures. King h7. Promotes. Promotes with check. King captures. And where are we? We would be king on h7, queen would be here, black king would be where I'm highlighting in the green, black queen would be there. So he can't use this square. Can give a check on g7, but it doesn't seem very helpful. Bummer. Seems like that's not quite working. Oh, it must be this idea. King f5, king e6, and then push. I'm very confident. It had to be something like that. Okay. Let's move on. Black's move on this one. Clearly this guy's in danger. got some tension, some potential for a discovery here. Have good control over these squares. And yeah, that's gonna be it. Well, all we have is these pieces. This pass pawn is just too slow, so that's not gonna be a factor in this one. Okay. So as far as candidate moves, we got some decent checks like queen h4, queen h6, and are those all the reasonable checks that we have here? Okay, so we've got some reasonable checks, and then we've got some bad checks. And all those bad checks look pretty bad. Okay. Any other moves? Moving this knight somewhere is interesting, but they all lose for sure. So this knight is not going to be touched, at least for now. And then any bishop move just seems ridiculous. So we basically only have two choices. Okay, just bring our queen closer. The most obvious option, so we should start with that. So queen h4. There's no blocks. White has only one option. King g1. Then we can follow up with most obvious check, but there are others available, so now we could possibly have to calculate another variation. So queen g3. White could block, but that would be terrible because then we just capture the bishop on g2, that'd be checkmate. So if this check is to happen, white has two options. King h1 doesn't look so hot. But I don't see a direct way to counter this. So there's some interesting variations here. The one other move that we found is queen h6, but this move doesn't seem like it does anything good. Because this queen is guarded, so it doesn't seem like this discovery really helps very much. Unless we have this check. And the point is that they can't now go king g1 because they'll be met with a... maybe they still could. King g1, knight h3, king g2. Yeah, seems like they'd be okay there. And they also have g3 as an option, so we only really found these two as candidates, and all other moves seem ridiculous. So 80% confident that we should check here. And then, yeah, here we actually have another decision to make. So we need to know which check is the best, and there's perhaps even a third check here. So there's really three options, door A, B, or C. You need to figure out which one is the right one. Looks like those are all the three options. So I'm trying to brute force this puzzle. Queen g3, I didn't really find anything too conclusive. This is actually a very interesting check. Again, there's no blocks. This forces king back to h2. And we're very close. Never mind, this is silly. Queen will just capture, of course. Okay, so just write that off. Very silly check. So really just these two. We give the knight check. King f1. That seems very difficult to follow up. There are no more reasonable checks in that position. Knight h3, king f1. Yeah, I just don't see it. So again, by process of elimination, I found that queen g3 is really the only check that it could be. There are others, but yeah, it would just be repeating. Already have equal material, and black should be winning, so this can't just be a perpetual problem. So yeah, again, like a little bit less confident, maybe 75% confident. Okay. Again, yeah, we're very close. We said king h1. White does not really have any attack themselves against the black king, so it is possible there could be a non-check move here. So like perhaps bishop h3 is interesting if any of these other moves don't yield something. So we need to make some sort of threat here. Getting our knight to f2 doesn't really matter. Increasing pressure here doesn't matter. So that would, oh, perhaps it does. So this could be an interesting move. This does make a threat. There's no way the knight can guard the pinned piece. And there's no way they can give a check to wriggle out. They can't move their king. This wins a bishop. And I don't see anything better. This has to be right. Cool. Next. Black's move. We are in check. This time I noticed it at first. Great. Giving myself a pat on the back here. We have a couple of checks of our own as soon as we get out of check. This rook is not guarded. So black does have more material. They are up by a bishop. 2 bishops versus 1 bishop. And then the other pieces are equal. So if black just holds this piece, then they will have an advantage. So of course these are the 2 first moves that you'd think of. d7 would yield more weight because it's also guarding your other piece. So we've got king d7. White should do something about their rook. Are there any sneaky tricks that white has? Really doesn't look like it. I'm like 80% confident that we should make this move. And a guard. And yeah, now we have some checks. We can try to give, maybe trade off. Since we're ahead material, trading off would be good. White has this one threat here. So if we could trade off queens and then go bishop c5, that would neutralize that threat. But then again, we could have see like queen d4, king h1 instead. So after take, check, then perhaps we could get away with king c7 because we can always capture here. So rook d6, king c7, rook c6, double check. Unfortunately, king does need to capture back here. And then white will finally recapture this piece. And then after all of that nonsense, we save our bishop. And white has these two pieces left, and black still has a lot of pieces. So this seems pretty good. I'm pretty confident. And yeah, because this queen would look at g3 is after we capture, it's actually going to be important. And there's no other tricks that white has other than rook d6. Let's do it. Let's be really brave. King c7. Yeah, there's no. These other moves just don't work. So the only other move that's a double check would just be silly. So let's be brave and step right into this poison. Interesting. Okay. Then we need to address this problem as well as this problem. So we need to go bishop a3. This is the only move. Okay. Yeah, some of these are guesses, but so what? Getting them right. So we're really cheesing some of these puzzles and using process of elimination, any tools that we can use, any guerrilla tactics. This is war out here, so we can use any tactics that we want. Black's move. This one, clearly the white king is in a lot of danger. Other white pieces are pretty well guarded, and this puzzle should be easy to solve because black is toast if they don't stop this promotion. It looks like there's no way they can stop it, so it has to be a check. This puzzle should be an easy one, and there's only one check here. So this is the only way to continue. Now there's a few different checks, so there could be more than one way to continue. White has an escape square that we wouldn't really want them to get to. The most obvious moves, try to promote and be greedy. Promote, take, promote again, take, and after all that drama, it seems like there's not a way for white or for black to go ahead and finish this game. So we're looking for other avenues. This looks a bit silly because king can just run. We're not a big fan of that. Queen h3 check. Actually this would be kind of interesting. Yeah, unfortunately they have another escape square. Bishop g5 giving a check to this king. Maybe knight e3. Bishop captures with a check. Or captures. Queen captures with a check. King is now on e3. Promote. Take. 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 And yet again, yeah, we're gonna be hard pressed to stop this. Queen f7, king e3. Giving the check here. And king d3. Yeah, it just doesn't seem like that's the answer. Looking for other ideas here. Rook f8. This just seems a bit silly. going back here, this was close. Giving the check. Yeah, the problem is that giving a check here seems like it gives our opponent too much freedom. So we really have to go for this. And after this check, yeah, there was only this one move. All the other moves are totally lost. So I'm beginning to think that this must be the way. Just need to find some sort of more convincing continuation. He said bishop g5. But after knight d3, they were able to hold on. The only other way to go about this was giving this check, capturing, captures. Giving this check could be interesting. Rook h2 check. In that position, there would be a white rook here. I would have given up both pawns. So white king needs to come to e3. Do they have any other responses? King g3 would be a checkmated by queen h3. King f1 could actually be a response. And also king e1. Yeah, there's quite a number of responses there. I don't like that. So it looks like this is really the most forcing move. I'm not very confident in this, but we'll give it a shot. Alright, bummer. And this one has a puzzle rating of pending. Interesting. So yeah, let's just go ahead and see what this one was, because I just could not get this one. So was the promotion, was it the rook h2 check? Yes, it was. There was a lot of interesting. When is this one going to end? Oh my god, oh my goodness. Okay, so yeah, very interesting. If I just take this to the analysis board really quickly, then yeah, we can see, yeah, this is quite a long one. So we're looking at this one, the rook h2. I rejected this because it seemed like there was like a lot of different replies that could be made here. But I did not see that king e1 could probably be met by this. And perhaps, yeah, king f1, they're probably still going to meet it by capturing. And then perhaps like a queen check. King f1. Or perhaps another check like this, just trying to win the rook for free. Seems pretty good. There's no decent blocks. They can't block with their knight, they can't block with their rook. We'll just simply take that. So yeah, it seems like this could be pretty good. King must come up. Capture, capture. And this is definitely enough. I don't need to calculate it any further. I know this should be good enough for a win. There could be something a little bit easier, but I know that that is winning for black. Okay. And then, yeah, the other moves that maybe could have been looked at here. King e3. Let's see. King e3, I'm thinking about just capture, but then it leaves the king on a pretty safe square. So probably, again, this idea, queen h3 would be interesting. No blocks. King must therefore move to d2. And then we might have capture. I need to stop this pawn in some way, shape, or form. Yeah, I'm not sure that I quite see it. Alright, I give up. Let's look at the line here. So, let's just check our work. Yes, okay, so queen h3 was the move. Rook e2, king e2, rook g2. Wow, that would be difficult to find. It looks like black is running out of stuff. Capture, capture. They probably don't have enough to give a checkmate, but there's probably some way. Oh, yep, and they're gonna get, oops, they're gonna get back to the a6 square and then stop the checkmate threat. Okay, so that one was really difficult. Okay, so I'm not ashamed that I got that one wrong. Let's do one more, and then let's call it enough for this session. So this one, white's move. Clearly there's a lot happening to the black king. Discovery, my own queen is under attack, so clearly the double check is definitely an idea here. There's some other loose pieces though. These pieces are not guarded, so there could be some other things happening here. White king is pretty, actually not that safe. So there's definitely a lot of things going on here. Given the fact that there's this double check here, I'm not sure that there's really any other moves that it could be. If I'm looking for candidates, then it appears that there's not really anything else there. Perhaps the only other move could be some sort of shenanigans like this, but it doesn't quite work because the rook is looking there. So that type of trick just appears to not work here. Maybe there could be some silliness trying to play a fork here. But again, yeah, seems pretty unlikely. Hearing some hoofbeats, so I'm going to think horses, not zebras. So start with knight e7. Knight e7 double check. They need to move their king. Clearly this just loses, because queen g8 would be a checkmate, so that's off the table. Queen or king g7 is not impossible. King f7 or f8 is possible. Let's assume they start with king f8. So king f8, queen g8, check. Seems like more or less the only move. King captures, and then there's a fork. King and queen will be on those red squares. So after that, queen will be on g8. They have to give up the queen totally for free, so maybe that could actually work. And then the other move, I said here, king f7, queen g8 check. You still need to capture that. So it seems like this should work. And this other lunatic idea, yeah, it's just, I don't think it's quite worth it. So definitely here. And oh, this is actually close to a checkmate, but not quite. And then just gobble up this queen. I do not see a checkmate. This looks good enough. Let's do it. Okay, interesting. Okay, so that's a pretty decent session. We did what, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 puzzles, and I went 5 and 2 in that, so that's not bad. But anyway, I hope you guys gained some insight into how I calculate some of these problems. If you did enjoy this video, please give it a thumbs up and maybe comment as far as what you would like to see in future videos. Thank you guys, and have a good day.